So this is before, after the fact. Let's just make it really, really confusing in here. But on the episode, we were doing the Thrice episode, and Christina, you mentioned that you had a friendship form. Basically, one of your strongest friendships was based around Thrice, both of your love for Thrice. So I was wondering, like, if there was something that happened specifically that bonded you guys together about Thrice, or was it just love for the band?
Well, it's a funny story how it started, because we were both in middle school, probably. I was maybe 14. I was probably 13. He was 15. And we were at this church conference. And he was from the town I live in now, and I lived 200 miles west. So we were at this conference, and we had to pair up with someone we did not know and sit down across from them and stare in their eyes for 2 minutes without saying anything.
Oh.
Like, we didn't even know each other's names. And he was wearing an August Burns Red t-shirt. Yes.
PBR!
Yes. And I was wearing a Taking Back Sunday t-shirt. And I remember this so vividly. And we like looked at each other and did the whole 2-minute thing. And then we stopped the 2 minutes, and I was like, holy crap, I love your shirt. That's an awesome band. He's like, I love yours. And then we started talking about music, and he talked about Thrice being one of his favorite bands. So I was like, dude, I love that band too. And that was kind of one of those common grounds we had. And we talked about that band. And this is like, how old am I now? Like 13 years ago, I want to say. And so it was when their earlier records were out. It was, I want to say, right before album number 4 came out, if I'm correct. But, and we just bonded over the fact that we just loved this band, and we loved August Burns Red and loved Taking Back Sunday, and then went down the list of all these other bands that we just jived over. And now that's pretty much all we talk about with each other. And he moved to Minneapolis, and I don't see him very often anymore, but I was at a Shaky Graves, Dr. Dog outdoor festival at a brewery there, and had no idea he'd be there. And I turned around, and there he was. And we were just like at this exact same event in a totally different city from where we lived. Like where he lived, but I didn't know he'd be there. And we just bonded over the fact that we were both into those bands too. So I've never met somebody that just jives with music the same way I do. And that's just what our friendship's been based off now for like 13 years. It's been awesome.
Wow. I wonder though, Evan, do you have a similar band that you have that kind of friendship built on your love for a band?
I mean, yeah, kind of. Thrice, like I mentioned before, this isn't specifically Thrice related, but you'll see where I'm going with it. I mentioned Chris, my buddy Chris, former guitar player in one of my bands. Very much got me into Thrice. Said that earlier in the show, Deprogrammed. And once he introduced me, he's the one that really got me not only into Thrice, but into a genre of music I was really kind of unaware of at the time, right? I was very much the alt rock, radio friendly metal, if you will, kind of guy.
Gotcha.
And he got me more into the, I guess you could say, what they call metalcore, for lack of a better term, type of music, which is now like my main genre of music I listen to now, because I love it. I live for it. So we bonded over not just Thrice and listening to Thrice talk about that, but it also led into other bands like Norma Jean, right? Which I was on the Deprogram episode for that. And we would just sit there and just, listen to music. We'd always hang out, drive over band practice, go to Denny's, drink coffee till 3 a.m. talking about music and bands and all this stuff. That's what you do in Hampton Roads.
That's right.
If you didn't know, when you're an adolescent.
Waffle House.
Right? Waffle House, Denny's.
Yep.
That's what you do. And you guzzle bottomless coffee till the wee hours of the morning, because you're young and can do that. Couldn't do that anymore. And you and we just talk about music, and we talk about this particular riff that he's working on that was inspired by this song of Thrice or this song by Norma Jean, things like that. And we've, even though now I'm a dad, married, has a kid, married, life changes happen.
Life happens. Yeah.
We don't stay in contact as often, but when we do, it's always like, oh, dude, you check out this band in that same metalcore genre. Have you heard this new album from August Burns Red? Or, or Norma Jean. They just came out with another new album actually pretty recently. And so we always have that bond of like metalcore music and ultimate riffage, right? Like that is what we discuss. That's what we talk about anytime we get together. Aside from now, it's sprinkled in there with like, oh, how's your kid doing? You know?
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, dude, check this out or check that out. So I would say that, and Jonathan, to another point, who's also been on the show, also another guitar player in one of my bands, and Justin and I's band actually,
yes.
Stale, and Jonathan and I. That's I mean, even to this day, we'll just send a random text message. I sent him one this week for this band called Darko. No, probably most of you probably haven't heard of them. It is the most brutal stuff I've ever listened to in my life. I'm like, dude, you gotta check this out. This is like, I seriously had trouble breathing after listening to it because it didn't let up. Like, but yeah, it's just those bonds you forge with music. It's such an interesting thing that music can do. And yeah, that's my story, kind of.
I had an interesting bond with the Booth brothers at Papa John's, and I'll delve into this a little bit more onto the actual after the fact, but I'm going to start with the happy side, Deftones. And, you know, you work a job with somebody, and you got to have something in common. You know, sometimes it's wrestling for me, sometimes it's Smashing Pumpkins, which is unfortunately rare. It's for the Booth brothers, it was the Deftones. So, like, if I'm working late, the booths are closing, we're talking Deftones. We're talking all the albums. Like we could, all three of us could go toe to toe, and we could talk from first to last, like everything about them. Talk about Chino. Talk about side projects, Team Sleep. And it was nice to be in an environment where you're supposed to be your unhappiest, I guess, especially in those years. You know, when you're working just to pay the bills, like I'm delivering pizzas. Like, I'm not changing the world. But I had two friends who I could talk to about the Deftones. So it was, if you got to do it, might as well have fun doing it, right? So I mentioned this already, but if you want to get in and listen to the rest of this conversation, where this conversation goes, patreon.com/ohhijustin. $1 a month gets you into the club, as it were. You become a patron, and you get to listen to the rest of this conversation on After the Fact. You dig Thrice and everything they were talking about from Thrice, go check out the Deprogrammed. Check us out we're on all the podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Give it a download, rate, subscribe, do all that. And we will talk to you guys soon. I guess I probably should come up with a sign-off for this one. I don't know. I'll come up with something.